wedding hall buzzed with excitement. Chandeliers glittered overhead, music played softly, and the guests whispered in curiosity. Everyone was waiting for the bride and groom to make their grand entrance. But suddenly, the massive wooden doors at the back opened, and all heads turned. A sleek black limousine rolled up outside, and from it stepped a woman in a flowing gown, graceful and confident, followed by 3 children who looked like they had stepped straight out of a dream. The groom froze. His jaw dropped. Because that woman was his ex-wife. Only weeks before, he had sent her an invitation not out of kindness, but cruelty. He wanted her to see how far he had come. He wanted her to feel small, humiliated, and forgotten. Years ago, when they divorced, she had left with nothing. He had walked away from her and their unborn children, chasing wealth, status, and a new relationship with someone who matched his ambitions. He believed she would always remain stuck in poverty, struggling, begging. He thought inviting her to his wedding would be the final insult, the closure that proved he had won. But what walked through those doors that night was not a broken woman. It was a woman transformed. Her name was Aisha, and when their marriage ended, she had been left with nothing but her unborn triplets and the strength of her own will. She had cried nights into her pillow, unsure how she would raise 3 children alone. She worked odd jobs, cleaned houses, and even went hungry so her babies would eat. There were days she thought she couldn't go on, but every time she looked at their tiny faces, she found a reason to fight harder. Slowly, through pain and struggle, she began to rebuild her life. When her triplets were born, she promised them they would never feel abandoned the way she had. She pushed herself through exhaustion, taking classes at night while working during the day. She built connections, found mentors, and eventually started a small business from her kitchen table. At first, it was just baking bread and cakes for neighbors, but word spread. Her business grew, and within a few years, she owned a thriving catering company that supplied hotels, events, and even airlines. She didn't just survive, she flourished. Now, standing at the back of the wedding hall, she held her head high. Her children, dressed in elegant suits and dresses, held her hands proudly. They didn't look broken, hungry, or neglected. They looked like everything their father had once doubted they could be. Strong, happy, and successful. The murmurs in the room grew louder. Guests whispered in shock. Is that his ex-wife? Who are those children? They look just like him. And indeed they did. The groom's face went pale as everyone noticed the resemblance. The bride looked at him, confused, her smile faltering. She had never been told the full truth. He had painted his ex-wife as a weak, bitter woman who couldn't handle life. But now, the truth was walking down the aisle in front of everyone. Aisha didn't need to say a word. The sight of her alone was enough to turn the celebration into silence. The groom forced a smile and tried to recover. Well, look who decided to show up. He said loudly, hoping to regain control of the room. You must have borrowed that limo, trying to impress, right? His words were sharp, meant to cut. But Aisha only smiled. She had nothing to prove to him anymore. She turned to her children, kissed them gently, and whispered, "Stand tall." Then she walked past him with grace, heading toward a table near the front where important guests sat. The host of the event, one of the wealthiest businessmen in town, stood up immediately and hugged her, because what her ex-husband didn't know was that she had catered his daughter's wedding just last month, and her company was now one of the most respected in the city. The guests began clapping, not for the groom or the bride but for her. The room shifted, and suddenly the one who had planned to shame her became the one shamed. His bride's family watched him with judgment, whispering among themselves. The bride's smile vanished entirely, realizing she had been messled about the man she was marrying. The truth, exposed in the most dramatic way possible, hung heavy in the air. The groom's anger boiled over. He leaned close and hissed, "You think you've won? You're nothing without me." But Aisha looked at him calmly, her eyes steady, her voice firm. "I was nothing when I was with you. But without you, I found everything I needed. And I will never let my children believe they are less than what they are meant to be." Her words struck deeper than any insult he had thrown. That night, the wedding celebration became chaos. Guests questioned his character, his new bride pulled away from him, and his carefully constructed image crumbled. But Aisha didn't stay to watch it fall. She gathered her children, thanked the host, and walked out with dignity. The limo door closed behind them, and as they drove away, the triplets laughed and held her hands. To them, their mother was not just strong. She was unstoppable. The lesson was clear. Sometimes the people who are meant to destroy you only give you the fire to rise higher. Aisha had been abandoned, mocked, and underestimated. But she transformed her pain into power. And when the world least expected it, she walked back into the life of the man who left her. Not as a victim, but as living proof that resilience, love, and faith can rewrite any destiny. She didn't need revenge. She didn't need to humiliate him. Her success, her children, and her strength were the greatest victory of all.